Let me ask you something. When you first saw Kimmie working in that strip club in episode 1, what did you think? Be honest. Did you think survivor? Or did you think tragic? Because here's the thing. Most people watching Beauty in Black filed Kimmie away in their head as the underdog, the girl with the rags to riches arc, the Cinderella story with a little more edge. And look, that's not wrong. But it's also not even close to the full picture. Because when you really sit with Kimmie, when you stop watching the plot and start watching the person, something hits you hard. Kimmie was never just desperate. She was dangerously, almost self-destructively intelligent. And that intelligence, that hunger, that raw ability she had, nobody in her world protected it. Nobody watered it. It was just left out in the heat to either die or figure itself out. And that, right there, is the most heartbreaking thing about her story. Welcome back. Pull up a seat. Today we're breaking down Kimmie, fully, honestly, and without the romanticizing, because this character deserves so much more than just, she made it. For anyone just joining us, here's the foundation. Kimmie starts the series at rock bottom. Not the Hollywood version of rock bottom, where you're wearing a cute outfit in a messy apartment. We're talking about the kind of low that only happens when the people who were supposed to protect you are the exact ones who threw you away. Her mother kicked her out. That's the starting point. Not a boyfriend, not a bad decision she made. Her mother. The first person a girl is supposed to be safe with. Gone. Door closed. Figure it out. So she does what she has to do. She ends up working at a strip club. And from the outside, that looks like the lowest point of her story. But here's the reframe I need you to sit with. The strip club wasn't where Kimmie fell. It was where she held on. It was the ledge she grabbed when everything else dropped away beneath her. And even there, even in that environment that was designed to take from women and give nothing back, Kimmie was still going to business workshops. She was still studying Mallory from a distance. She was still dreaming with the kind of ferocity most people only have when they haven't been beaten down yet. Think about that. This woman had every reason to stop dreaming, and she just didn't. That's not a plot device. That's a character who was built from something real.
But here's what the show quietly slips past you if you're not paying attention. Kimmie's drive wasn't just ambition, it was armor. When someone is abandoned as young as she was, kicked out by her own mother, left to build from nothing, the hunger to become something stops being about success. It becomes about proof. Proof that you matter. Proof that you were worth keeping. Proof that the people who threw you away were wrong. Every time Kimmie pushed harder, studied harder, refused to accept a room's assessment of her, she wasn't just climbing, she was arguing. She was making a case to a jury that had already delivered its verdict on her life. And nobody around her fully understood that. Not Rain, her best friend, who loved her but was also surviving her own chaos. Not Angel, not Horace, at least not at first. They saw the ambition. They didn't see the wound that was fueling it. That's the loneliness of Kimmie that the show embeds in almost every scene, but never says out loud. She is surrounded by people who care about her, and yet not one of them truly sees the full weight of what she's carrying. Now let's talk about the most fascinating relationship in this entire show, Kimmie and Mallory. On the surface, the show gives you a classic rivalry. The new woman versus the established queen. The outsider versus the insider. And it works dramatically. There's tension, there's competition, there's real menace between them. But underneath all of that, these two women are the same person at different chapters. Mallory didn't grow up in the Bellarie world. She married into it. She built her power through marriage, through strategy, through navigating a family that never fully accepted her. Sound familiar? Because that's exactly what Kimmie does. Just a generation later, both women came from nothing. Both women had to be smarter than everyone in the room just to stay in the room. Both women were underestimated constantly and survived by turning that underestimation into their greatest weapon. The reason their rivalry is so electric is because it's not really a rivalry between opposites. It's a rivalry between mirrors. And deep down, I think both characters feel that. which is exactly why it takes until season 2 for them to finally stop fighting each other and start fighting together. Because when Mallory finally looks at Kimmie and truly sees her, she's not just gaining an ally. She's recognizing herself 20 years earlier, before the empire, before the marriage, before the mask. If you want to see who Kimmie really is underneath all the strategy and survival, look at how she handles Sylvie. Her little sister gets kidnapped and trafficked through the very club Kimmie worked in, and in that moment, everything else goes out the window. The business moves, the careful strategy, the measured way she'd been navigating the Bellarie world. All of it vanishes. What's left is a girl who is not going to let her sister become what almost became of her. There is no calculation in those scenes. There's just love. Ugly, ferocious, reckless love. And that's the most important scene in the show for understanding Kimmie, because it tells you exactly who all of this has been for. It was never really for herself. It was for the people she couldn't protect before she had power. Power was always, at its core, about protection. That's a heavy thing to carry. That's not ambition. That's survival on behalf of everyone you love. By season 2, Kimmie is COO of the Beauty in Black Empire. She's Mrs. Bellarie. She's sitting at the head of the table in a room full of people who despise her, and she doesn't even flinch. And it's supposed to feel triumphant, and it does, but it also quietly costs her something. Because the Kimmie who sat in that business workshop, notebook open, dreaming about a future she couldn't even fully picture yet, there's something innocent about her. Something raw and real that gets polished away as she steps into power. The harder she has to become to survive the Bellarie family, the more pieces of that original girl get left on the floor. She starts making moves that the season 1 Kimmie would have been shocked by. She threatens Jules through his children. She plays the same manipulation games that the people who oppressed her once played. And the show doesn't judge her for it. And honestly, neither do I. Because she didn't choose this battlefield. She was thrown onto it. But it's worth pausing and recognizing that the price of power in Kimmie's world is portions of your own soul. And she's been paying that price quietly this whole time. Here's where I land on Kimmie. She is one of the most genuinely complex women Tyler Perry has ever put on screen. And I say that with full understanding that the show has its melodramatic moments. This is Tyler Perry. The heightened drama is part of the DNA. But Kimmie breaks through that. She feels real in a way that's hard to articulate, because her pain is real. Her hunger is real. Her love for Rain and Sylvie and Angel is real. And her flaws are real too. The recklessness, the moments where her rage outpaces her strategy, the chip on her shoulder that she can't always put down even when it hurts her. She started this show as a girl that her own mother didn't want. She ends season 2 as the head of a dynasty. But the thing that gets me, the thing I keep thinking about, is that she never got to fully exhale. She never got to just be without the next threat, the next fight, the next person trying to take what she built. And you have to wonder, when does Kimmie get to stop proving herself? When does she get to be enough just as she is? Maybe season 3 answers that. But if it doesn't, if the show ends before she gets that moment of quiet, that might be the most heartbreaking ending of all. Not because she failed, but because she won every battle and still never fully felt safe. And isn't that the most human thing in the world?